And we're live, and someone's already hitting the wine. All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's water, right? It's just fermented water. All
It's
right.
juice.
Juice. Oh,
You can't ferment water.
Sure you can. Science and
You
stuff.
failed at chemistry. I forgot.
And look, I managed a D proudly, so you hush. Hey, all you... Shush. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just three nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place where we put the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, Miss Isabel Hardesty, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers?
Hey, everybody. I'm Isabel Hardesty. I'm an author. I write fantasy, young adult fantasy. I have currently 4 books on Amazon and different platforms. I have a series called the Delacorte Shapeshifter series, and that actually was inspired by DragonCon. I'll tell you about it a little bit more. And yeah, there are 3 books in that. And my main book that I'm working on book number 2 is Midnight in Belle Fleur. I'm working on that, but The Witch of Belle Fleur is book 1. And that's about a telenovela actress who turns into a witch.
Ooh. That sounds very New Orleans with the naming.
Oh yeah, it's based in South Florida, but yeah, I kind of did a little nod to that. Yeah, little New Orleans nod.
I like it. And so the next part of the introduction, dear listener, as you know, is how we first found them. So this is another one of those episodes where Doc said, "Be here or I will cut you." So I am here. But Doc, where did you meet her? Was it a bar? Was it DragonCon? Since she's mentioned she went.
I think it was actually through Mel Todd posting somewhere that she did this, and she emailed us, and I said, "Oh, your book sounds so cool. Let's do it." So
thank you. Yes, I was at DragonCon the first time as an author last year, and it was fabulous.
I missed having. Wait, I might have had you. I was so busy. I don't know.
I think we were both busy, and last year it was just so nice to be in person. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yes. And Katie Cross too.
Oh yes, Katie she was like, you have to check out Isabel.
Fabulous.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You did an interview with Katie. I remember that now.
Yes, she's amazing.
She's awesome.
So that's how I'm here. And thanks for having me.
One day we will be as good as Katie. She does it all. She manages that huge company and makes her own audiobooks.
And doesn't
I don't even like my own voice.
Even more, or her husband, which is even more impressive.
Right. She's a superhero.
She is.
All right, Doc. You got to ask her the religion questions, and if she gets it wrong, I've got the boot button. So
we're not going to boot her. You might.
Well, my answer before you ask me is live long and prosper.
Yes.
Star Trek all the way. It's not an option.
Okay.
I love her.
Okay, who's your favorite captain?
Captain Cisco, probably.
I knew I loved you. That's my favorite too.
So if I'm gonna just get looped in just endlessly going through space, I want him to be my captain.
You didn't? I would have thought maybe Janeway, because she was pretty awesome too. Although she's
pretty awesome too.
She did just drive in circles and let herself get constantly side quested.
Cisco had to deal with so many things that nobody else ever had to deal with.
There's something about the baseball on his desk and the New Orleans thing about what is it? Making a shrimp gumbo. The stories. I'm just tell me a story, Papa. Just so relaxing.
No, I truly love it. He's really the one where you're of all the captains in Star Trek, you know exactly where on Earth he is from.
Yeah, you know where he stands.
Cool, but he drinks English tea and then does
Earl Grey
wine and but Cisco is, where he's from.
He's amazing, and I did see him at DragonCon, and I bought one of his CDs. I was sitting there in the audience. My husband was right next. I was just crying. I was just I was just in tears. He was just
a musician.
It was I think spoken word. So he said on stage at DragonCon, he says people say they like my voice. He goes, and my voice is my father's voice. And I was just tears. And he goes, people ask me why I do what I do. And he looked at everybody, goes, I do it for you. So, yeah.
Oh, no. He's my favorite. He is my child's favorite. My child at 18 months would come running in when he heard the opening chords of Deep Space Nine.
That's so nice.
and he will watch anything with Cisco in it.
Yeah.
I just like
Captain
he put
Cisco.
Picard in his place in that opening of the series. That was
But
nice.
that's why he's so amazing. Is he's like, here's the line. No.
All right, so Doc, you got to ask the next one. See if she gets this one right with you too.
I'm pretty sure she will. Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or The Wheel of Time?
Lord of the Rings for me.
Outstanding.
So how do you feel about the new show?
I have not seen it. I've been busy being a mom and writing. 4.5-year-old son. So just busy.
So
just a little busy.
So much fun.
A little busy.
I've seen
better-ish.
I've seen the commercial for the. I've seen the commercial for the new Lord of the Rings stuff. If you take it as a generic sci-fi, it looked really interesting. I'd watch it, but it doesn't appear that it's stuck to the lore of the Lord of the Rings. I understand part of that is legal reasons. They don't have the rights to all of the books, so like they didn't have the rights to the Silmarillion, which where he outlined the worlds, and they changed some pretty canon things. If you just acknowledge and say, hey, this isn't canon, and we just thought this actress was the best,
right?
I generally will go with it. But when you try to pretend, no, this is what he really meant, even though he didn't know he meant it,
right? They should be upfront about it.
The diehards and the people who are willing to watch a show and say, okay, you had to update things because you know what? Like Heinlein. People look at Heinlein's work and they're like, wow, it's so backwards. But at the time that he was writing it, it was very avant-garde. So sometimes as fans, we just need to be willing to accept the fact that things updated to fit the cultural wars.
True.
And just kind of like, just don't be so uptight.
Yeah, ease into
Sometimes people are way too uptight.
Yeah.
And
may I bring up Dune?
Yeah, Dune's amazing.
I loved Dune. I loved the original Dune, the book. Yeah, so
Dune is a really amazing one, and it is definitely that space. I think that's really the first big book property that is definitely space fantasy.
Yeah.
So because I don't care, there's no physics that could explain away the spice. So it must be magic.
Yeah, must be.
All right, Doc.
So. As we've covered, we love both sci-fi and fantasy, but which was your first love?
Growing up, it was sci-fi because in my house, I'm one of 6 kids. We would have Star Trek. Yeah, crazy, just a little crazy too. Just a little loud in the house. It would be sci-fi on. Star Trek was our show. Mainly my big brother, who's actually a former Marine, and I did tell him that he was an ex-Marine once, and he said no. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
So the Marine always
corrected me quickly. I never forgot that. I was like, okay.
For Christmas, you need to give him a box of crowns, though.
Crowns?
That's the running joke about modern Marines is they're the kids that were eating the crowns and paste and kindergarten.
Crayola ones I've been told flavored the best.
I get it. That's funny.
So they even have some that released edible crowns that have calorie counts on the back as a joke since the meme started.
That's awesome. Oh, gosh, I'll tell them that.
Was, in full disclosure, I got out in 2007, and that was not a thing. They were not like that. The Marine crown jokes came about sometime after that.
I'll have to bring it up with them.
You just weren't like socially aware, JR, because that's been known to happen too.
I mean, I dealt with the Marines a lot when I was in the Anambra province. So, I mean, I thought I would have heard about it, but maybe it was a super secret thing and they just didn't think I was in the club, in the army and all. So, all right. So what was your first memory of engaging in speculative fiction as a genre? Was it watching Star Trek at home or was there something before that?
Yeah, watching Star Trek at home. And it was nice seeing Lieutenant, Uhura. It was great seeing Uhura there as a brown young woman, a black young woman. I was able to see myself, a girl, because I was a child. But see someone who looked like me, and that was pretty awesome. And it was beautiful. I loved it. I learned a lot about life from their small set, which seemed vast to me as a little girl. And it just made me think of very esoteric concepts, and I loved it.
Okay, so if you had the holodeck, would you play with it?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Wouldn't you?
All right, I would definitely try to play with dragons and dinosaurs if I had a holodeck.
Oh yeah, I would be
Whatever.
I'd be flying on a dragon's back, definitely. At
I'm
least
just
once
feeling,
a week.
right. I'm feeling Doc would have like Pern in there somehow as one of the settings.
Totally. Completely.
All right. Right. What was the first sci-fi or speculative fiction umbrella? What was the first speculative fiction book you read? Do you remember?
Probably Dune.
Wow.
That's a heavy book to read.
So not Chronicles of Narnia when you were younger or any of those?
I don't think so. I think I don't. Maybe something smaller like that, but I think I did a lot of that was viewing. And then my first big read was, probably Dune, but I was, a teenager.
Okay.
Dune's a pretty heavy book, even for a teenager, though.
Yeah. And if someone ever gets out of line when you're holding it, you can just beat them with it and you win because it's huge.
Yeah, I think I would.
And I don't think, do they even have a hardback version of that? Because it's so big. I don't know if you can do
no.
Barnes and Noble comes out like at the holiday times when they come out with the leather bound ones.
Yeah.
Like the ones. They do have one of
That's
Dune
nice.
like that.
That's nice.
Nice. I wasn't sure because sometimes the books get so big it's not a viable option.
Yeah.
But those are also like very thin books. Like the pages are very thin. It's like that nice Bible paper thin page.
Okay.
Right.
So I think that helps balance it.
Fair. All right. So what is it about speculative fiction as a genre that you love so much?
I think it just opens up to possibilities. And I love how I think my older brother said this once, science fiction, so much of, when we see them holding that plastic and going, Captain, I'm here looking at this information. And that looked so odd to us. Oopsie. Years ago, we see that, like, what are they doing now? Obviously, we're like, yeah, we can find that restaurant with our phones. So much of what they talk about actually comes true, of course, with tech, but just also ideas. Battlestar Galactica, let's say. I do remember them saying at Dragon Con that I think some of the writers and producers and actors were invited by the United Nations to talk about conflict resolution as a serious thing because of some of the concepts and storylines that they had and how they were able to come to amazing agreements.
Okay, I know that
no spoiler alert, and no spoilers for people who are just starting to jump in.
Yeah.
So
I have the Cylon head of Battlestar Galactica.
So they do have the X Prize every year that comes out, and a lot of the people have been inspired by science fiction. They had someone actually win by inventing a tricorder, like the Star Trek doctor had, that would diagnose it wasn't as huge a list, but it could still diagnose a lot more than whatever. Like that was kind of cool.
That's amazing.
Alcubierre, it's a guy's name. He's from Mexico, but I can't remember how to pronounce his full name, and it sounds very French. But he actually invented Doc, don't laugh at me. Too late. He invented the formula that is for warp drive based on just being such a huge Star Trek fan that he figured out the math. Now you need more energy than the sun puts out in its lifetime to make it work, but it is mathematically possible, and he figured that out because he was such a huge Star Trek fan.
I think, it definitely inspires us to not even raise the bar, just to forget the idea of a bar and just go for it. Instead of saying, think outside the box. There is no box.
So he is a theoretical physicist, Miguel Alcubierre, who studied at Wales University, but I'm pretty sure he was from Mexico.
Wow.
I could be wrong on that part, and I probably butchered the name, but that's who we're talking about, people. So I did know it, even if I pronounced it wrong.
Yay!
But yeah, I just think that's amazing how many people. JR's laughing. All right, I'm constantly amazed
you said it, therefore it must be true.
I'm constantly amazed at the number of people that are inspired by fiction of all varieties to do great and wonderful things.
Yeah, me too.
Because once somebody sitting in their basement typing on their keyboard had an idea. And the world shifted. That is an amazing thing.
Well, for my older brother who was into Star Trek first in our family, I believe, and sci-fi, he now is into robotics. So, so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
you should come to Dragon Con. We have a whole entire robotics trip.
I know. Last year, he and his son built a 3D printer. Or was it 2 years ago? Yeah.
Wow, his parenting skills are mad up here. And I'm
I know.
I built a Lego set. Yay!
All right. While they were talking, I did Google it. Yes, I was right. He's from Mexico City. So
Okay, cool.
I got the nationality wrong. But I'm always amazed at the number of people inspired by fiction to do awesome things. So
I love it. It's wonderful. And I think that sometimes it gets forgotten. No one talks about certain things because they talk about everything else that's on TV. But yeah, there's a lot.
Told not to talk about certain things because I have friends, as much as I love them, I know if certain things, if we come up in conversation, they just almost immediately get so emotionally charged.
Yeah.
That science fiction is kind of nice because you can discuss it.
True.
Without bringing as much of the emotion into it.
Yes.
So,
which is why it's so.
And then you can suddenly be like, you do know that that's not much different than this situation in real life. And they're like,
right. I like that.
I like the carpet pull out from under the rug moment with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's generally pretty funny to watch.
What? Yeah.
You would. So how did your love of speculative fiction as a genre transition into you writing stories in that space?
Well, I found myself at Dragon Con because I love fantasy and sci-fi. My sister, Rachel, when we were living in Georgia, my husband and I, she was like, you guys should go to Dragon Con. I'm like, what's that? I've never heard of it in my life. And this was I think 2009 or something. And she's like, I have a friend that likes sci-fi like you guys do. You should check it out. He loves it. So my husband and I were like, okay, we'll just go. I think it was a Saturday or Friday. And we're like, whatever. We just figured it out. And we were like, oh my God, we love it. And then we went on that Sunday because Saturday was sold out. Then we, of course, bought tickets for the next year. And the only year I missed was 2017 when my son was born.
That's an excused absence.
I do have to send you a picture later, JR and Doc, of my son being held by the ladies from Expanse from 2018.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, they were just like, and his face, even though he's basically a year, he's like, he's got that look of like,
no. I had a son who at that age, he was already a flirt. I know you're
he was like, he had exactly, instead of smiling like, yay, he's just like, hey, well, what? Look what's going on. So, so then I found myself though at the writers' workshops a lot, even though these amazing panels were going on. And my husband's like, I'm going to be here or there. And he's a writer too. And he'd sometimes be with me, but I found myself there a lot. And then one of the directors said, we have this anthology coming out. And, I kind of looked behind myself thinking they're talking to somebody else, but obviously, I was there a lot. So the premise was it had to be like shifter, unicorn, fairy, some of these characters that I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not, so then I did. And then I made Jade's Awakening as a short story. And then it got in, it was accepted, which was cool. And then I made that short story, I changed it a bit and I made it into a novella, Jade's Awakening novella, and then Jade's Descent and Jade's Paradox. And then from there, I went into The Witch of Belle, which is a novel of, I think, 466 pages on Amazon.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Some of the best books and some of the most pivotal books of science fiction and of fantasy started as novellas. So
yeah,
like Dragon's Flight started as a novella.
Yeah, and it had to take place at Dragon Con.
Oh yeah, so, I know which mythology you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have a copy of it.
Yeah. So Jade gets dropped off at Dragon Con, something like that. And her mom says, honey, be careful, Miyamoto, don't hurt anybody this time. And she's like, okay, Mom. And things happen. She's half shifter, half fairy. So that's what I did too. I made her half and half just to make it fun.
Cool. So before Doc asks for questions, we will say that if he's a writer too and he writes anything in the speculative fiction umbrella, you should send your husband. We'll do an interview of him about his books too.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I will.
And we'll tell him this is all because his wife's amazing.
Awesome.
So he will never doubt us.
Yes. He'll know.
All right,
he'll have fact. Yeah.
So what real life influences do you think kind of formed who you are as a storyteller?
I did go to college at 19 in New York City, so I had to be a tough person. I also liked to travel by myself in Europe. I'm just like, this is in my 20s. So I just be out there and just travel. Sometimes I went with family, but mainly it was by myself. And I was just there like, I wish I had, once you're there, like, I wish I had someone to talk to because I really want to say how awesome this is. But don't know. I just wanted to, I guess, find myself, experience life in a different setting. So I like that concept of coming of age and also new experiences. And of course, magic's just amazing. Not that I've been a witch. Maybe I was, but anyway. But just like interesting things that make you go, wow. And gosh, watching telenovelas with my mom and my sisters, my family growing up in Miami is, was one of those fond memories. And a little bit in Georgia when we were living in Georgia. And just nature, the South Florida uniqueness.
South Florida is
extremely hot.
Unique place in the world.
Yeah, yes. Come on. I know. It's amazing though. So it starts off, the Witch of Belle starts off with Juliet and her best friend who's gorgeous in the swamps of South Florida, and she's about to get venom to save her aunt who's dying, who's sick. So then they're in the swamp, she's behind him, and she's looking at the sweat trailing down his neck, and it's super hot. And just chapter 1 ends where you literally have to continue reading the next chapter.
So back to when you talk about the way that your world travel has affected you as a storyteller, how many different countries have you been to offhand? Do you know?
I've been to probably not as much as you guys, but I've been to, Mexico for a friend's wedding, which was beautiful. I've been to France, England, Italy, Amsterdam. So that's like 5.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, pretty nice.
I mean, I haven't gotten much out of the country as an adult. So I started out. I cheated and I started outside of the country and just worked my way.
Oh, I get it. That's kind of cool to do too. So my husband and I have been to Vancouver, which is beautiful.
It is,
Okay.
I think it's like the cleanest city in the world or something.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
Like,
it's really beautiful.
It's beautiful. I've seen scenery of it. It's awesome. You've had many more fun adventures than JR has outside of the country.
So,
thank you.
Canada, not on purpose. I've been to Iraq, Germany. We might have accidentally crossed some of Iraq's borders into other countries, but we'll have to talk about that one off air. So officially, I've been to 3 countries. Unofficially, a little bit more. And it's not because I did anything super secret squirrel special stuff. I just had a lieutenant with a compass, and he got the border wrong. And oops, Syria, we're sorry.
Well, now that things are settling down soon, yay. Maybe there's travel in your future for both of you.
Yeah, I think I want to go places where they don't want to shoot me just for being American. That's my travel ambition.
That should be like number 1 on anyone's list.
I think that's number 1 on JR. Why JR went though?
Yeah, there's something to be said when you're a young man chasing an adrenaline rush. But
I hear you.
My first start is I'd like to see every one of the 50 states. I think that could be cool.
Oh yeah, there's some beautiful states. Now we live in Washington and it's beautiful. So like a couple of days ago, I was driving home and I was like, look at those mountains. I'm just driving. I'm like, but I'm like looking at the mountains going, oh my gosh. Because from Florida, we don't really have mountains. And my mom, who is, I'm sorry, what?
Is Washington pretty rainy? I've heard that about where you're at.
Yeah. Yes.
I served with the guy from Washington. He said in Washington, it's either raining, fixing to rain, or just got done raining. That was his description of the weather.
I mean, it's sunny, of course, because you're talking about it. It's now sunny, but
you're welcome.
It can be rainy. And they have this thing that I only heard about like after moving here. It's called the dark, which is scary, but it's the dark kind of just day where you're like, and it's dark, but it's beautiful.
That's on my list of places to see.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. There's some epic things, epic scenery, and like, you're always taking photos sometimes. Yeah.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, Doc. Now it is your turn.
So we're going to get into some of the fan things. Has anyone asked you for your autograph?
At DragonCon last year, I did have one person. It was my first time as an author, which is exciting. I hope to go there again. Yay!
Yay!
And I did a book reading, which was fun. And after I read chapter 1, it was great having one person specifically, Belle, and some other people who were just like they wanted me to continue because I wasn't sure after reading if they were like, thanks for stop reading, but but they actually wanted me to keep going. That was
yes. Author readings are really fun to go to, but I think they're really hard because there's not as much interaction with the audience. So
right, because you're just reading and you're like, do you like what I'm doing? And then you only know when you're finished, and they're like, ah.
I have an author friend who he goes in with sound equipment, and people are like stare at him and go like, what are you doing? And then he plays his audiobook.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's like, my wife loves me, and she hates my books when I read them out loud. So I'm playing my audiobook.
That's kind of cool because then you can play it and just walk around and kind of chit chat with people, probably.
So, that's another good point.
I don't know. I just make fun of him because I'm not mature like that.
That's actually kind of ingenious, and I really, really like it. The cool thing is when you're still in the writing process and you get some of your beta readers or alpha readers to read it, and you're like, I don't know if this is any good. Should I start again and write another novel? And you get those, you son of a bit, and then it gets a few explosives. Where's the rest of it already? And you're like,
I know. It's a good feeling, and then you're like sweating because it makes you nervous, but you're like, yay, someone likes my stuff. Yeah.
It's a hard profession to do. Because of that, you spend so much time and you're like, I have no idea if it's any good.
I know.
So, but I think your stuff's great, and I have been assured by experts that your stuff is amazing.
Well, I did want to say that last year I entered into the SPF Foundation Scholarship, which is Mark Dawson, the Uber self-publishing author. It's his foundation. And I was one of the 9 winners this year, which was exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty exciting. So I'm also sponsored by Readsy, which is fabulous. So yeah. So that was really good validation. I think that part of the email said, I kind of like looked at it on my way to sleep. I'm like this, like going, elegant prose? What does that even mean? I'm like, yeah, I was like, elegant prose. I want to almost like get a tattoo that says elegant prose. So I'm just So
what's Readsy?
Readsy is an author platform for finding editing. There's a lot of courses, free courses. There's a lot of free help for authors there. And you can, of course, you can also then get quotes from different editors, book cover people, translation, and marketing publicity. It's pretty fabulous. It's reedsy.com, and of course SPF 101, and he has a suite of courses for self-published authors.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and he has I think Mark Dawson has so many things also that are free for people that want to just start writing and they're not sure and they don't want to necessarily go the agent route, or they want to go the agent route later on.
But it seems, because it does seem very intimidating when you're on the outside looking in. And but to forcibly transition to a fun question,
please.
What is your weirdest or funniest fan interaction?
I really haven't had one yet, but I would love to maybe find that out at DragonCon in 2022. So
I think that
to talk to. Come on up.
I'm not the person to talk to, but you know how to apply. So we can totally arrange it once you get there.
So,
so they should just come on up. Yeah, I think I'll get in. If not, I'll just be walking around at the panels. But if someone sees me, come on up.
You and I can be hanging out at the bar.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Just make sure you get a babysitter. They found babies at bars.
Yeah.
What? I don't even take my kid to DragonCon. Not he can come when he's 18.
Fair. So, all right. So this is the other part: is if you want to give her that interaction where you could be the weirdo that talks to her and makes her have something to tell everyone else, just follow her newsletter and engage, because everyone likes to talk to their readers.
That's a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
And so that the fans have time to recover from that awkward moment of yours, we're going to cut to a commercial, and so they can recover, and we will be back.
A single blip on her instrument panel brings Boss to a halt. Alone on her spaceship in a remote quadrant, she drops below light speed and listens. Hearing a blip like that makes her heart pound. It means a faint energy signature from an unknown source, somewhere nearby, most likely a ship. Boss specializes in abandoned ships. She dives them for salvage. But this is like nothing she's ever seen. Probably because she knows it can't be there. All of her knowledge of history, physics, and space wrecks says it's impossible. But if it's what she thinks, it could hold the key to a tremendous technological advance. One that no one in the universe should have. Called Page-Turning Space Adventure by Publishers Weekly, Diving into the Wreck by Christine Catherine Rush is classic science fiction at its most gripping. Find all 7 novels in the award-winning diving series at divingintotherwreck.com.
Okay, we are back, and hopefully JR has exited his foot from his mouth now.
I see nothing wrong with what I said. You say
Oh,
weird like
please.
it's a pejorative. I know
Please.
lots of the best people are weirdos. So
No, it was the forcible segue to the email list, which is fine. That's
But
great.
Jared's right. Come to my mailing list. Yes, hang out.
see, Doc, you just don't understand because nobody wants to read your emails.
Nobody reads
I
it.
do.
I have very creative grammar. I've been told this. I've been told it might qualify for its own language, particularly.
That would be cool. We got to talk offline and come up with a name for this new language. I'm down. So, right, this is where we. All right. So this is where we talk about everything Miss Isabel Hardesty has written. Can you give us the Reader's Digest version of your body of works?
Oh, yes. First is Jade's Awakening, and that is a novella. It's book 1 in the series, the Delacorte Shapeshifter series. And then it's Jade's Descent, where Jade discovers that she has more family than she thought. Then it wraps up with Jade's Paradox, where she discovers, she actually is forced to dethrone the Fairy Queen. And it's not that easy because she's half shifter and, chaos ensues. But she also has to save the world, so she does it.
As you do,
Then,
before breakfast.
Yeah, so what we do, right? So it's Jade's Awakening, Jade's Descent, Jade's Paradox, and then there's The Witch of Belle, which is book 1 in the Destroyer Witch series, and that's book 1. And this next one, which is available for pre-order on Amazon and Kobo, is Midnight in Belle.
I love that title.
Thank
So
you.
Those all
Sounds like an amazing book.
Those all sound fascinating, but we're going to talk about The Witch of Belle, telenovela actress turned witch dash bruja. The first novel in the Destroyer Witch Chronicle series. So where did you come up with that's a long title, by the way, but I wanted to get it all out there. So where did you come up with the premise for this universe? Where did you get the idea? Was it psychedelics, Ouija board, too much mountain air?
Well, I just finished watching the 4400, which I loved. And I remember writing in my notes saying, science, all the bells and whistles, those things don't matter. It's about the relationships. I remember writing that. So I started it off with a young teen, Afro-Latina teen in the swamps and just feeling very empowered. And then I wanted to keep it starting off in the swamps. And that's what I did with that. But I really see this one day being on screen somehow. So I did enter it into a screencraft competition for a cinematic book, and it became a quarterfinalist, I think, in January, which is pretty awesome.
Congratulations.
And it's on the red list. Yay. So, but yeah, inspired by nature, my experience growing up in South Florida and all of the culture there.
Okay. All right. So before we dig in, dear listeners and viewers, if you're listening, you should hop on over to the YouTube and check out this glorious cover. So where did you come up with the image or the concept that became this book cover?
It's a long and funny story. I was listening to, I guess, Elmo, some music for my son. And Elmo did a take on this song by Los Lobos, I believe, Kiko Under the Lavender Moon. And it was Elmo under the Elmo Under the Lavender Moon. I found the original, and then I found the YouTube video, and I guess it just mesmerized me. It was so creative. It just filled a part of my soul that I needed, because I had a cover and it wasn't working, and I knew something was going to come to me. So once I saw that video on YouTube, I just did the palm trees. I added some stuff to it, but I did have a book cover artist help me with the font and some of the design, but so it's kind of a teamwork. But I knew that it wasn't ready until I saw that video.
I think it's an amazing cover.
Thank you.
So, can you tell us a bit about the book? Like, what would the 30-second elevator pitch for this book be?
So being a teenage witch is harder. Is really hard, but being a teenage witch and being a telenovela actress is even harder, especially when your aunt's dying. So Juliet is faced with saving her aunt, dealing with her feelings that she has for her best friend, and then discovering that she's a witch.
That's a lot to deal with, particularly.
Yeah.
Is he a teenager for this?
Yeah, just a recent high school grad.
So yeah, that's a really crazy time for anybody. But then you've added in all this extra stuff.
I know.
I really got to wonder, how do you think she'd react if she met you?
I think she would.
I know you, and you're.
Yeah, I think she'd like me. She does know how to kick butt because she's got amazing fight scenes. But I think she'd like me. I think she'd really like me.
Well, that's
the stuff I put her through is kind of bad, but I kind of spread it around with other people too. And it's not all her though.
Oh, so it's not like, well, my world's just like imploding and everybody else has a happy ending. So I
know other people have some stuff that's happening, some other stuff that's hitting the fan for sure.
And that takes a lot of character maturity to look at it and go, yeah, I had a really crappy time with this, but so did other people too.
Yeah. Hopefully she can see it that way. And I think she can.
So that is awesome. JR loves to talk about the subgenres, and he loves to make me do it. It's like the one thing I'm going to make him eat pineapple pizza one day because of this.
I actually,
What would you say is like what is it that makes this really special, and what subgenres it would fit into?
I love that it's super awkward, and I love that there's lots of comedy in it. So it's not it's not something where you're just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? And going, it's not just heart pounding excitement. There are moments of laughter. There's moments that as you're reading it, you're like, oh, I've been there. I can understand that moment. In the first few scenes, Victor, I think, picks up his shirt to like do something. And she's just like, oh, are you working out? And it's just like super awkward. And she's not as poised and polished as she wants to be, even though she's an actress. Someone might think that she's got it all together, but she's just an awkward teen making the best of what she's dealt with. So there's lots of humor, probably magic realism too, and action and adventure, definitely, not just fantasy.
Do you think that the young woman coming of age aspect of the story is what makes yours special and makes it stand out?
I think so. And the fact that she's a strong person, but she's also vulnerable as well.
Well,
in her awkwardness.
She's got that interesting background too that you don't really see. You don't see a lot of actresses as main characters in novels to begin with.
Yeah.
But telenovelas are a very specific kind of.
Yeah, definitely. She's in South Florida, so it's easy for her to just hop on US 1 and go to Miami for the studio. So that's what she does. And she does it, but in the first scene, she's like walking behind Victor and she's like taking off her fake eyelashes, kind of like from yesterday's makeup time at the studio. So she's in it, but she's not like totally of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Doc, you get to ask your second favorite, whatever question after fandom. So the Tropalicious one, where you make up words.
Tropalicious is a real word. It's been published. Get over it, JR. So what tropes did you come up with and use for this, or just kind of twist it around?
I do have a little bit of a love triangle, but it's like a teasing love triangle. But stuff will probably happen in book 2. We'll see. And coming of age, of course, evil, obnoxious mother of the guy that you like. That's pretty fun. So Migdalia is an awesome character that is Victor's mom, and she's super intimidating. Also, like the trope of the orphan, fantasy orphan, we've got that going. But the twist is that Alma is her aunt, and she's a former actress, but now runs a diner. So it's pretty interesting. Also, because I don't want to say too much, but there's a mentor witch that helps Juliet, and he comes into the picture, and fun stuff happens.
Awesome.
So is the witchcraft angle in this universe something where everyone knows about magic, or is it like modern world where everyone's like, sure, right, magic?
Not everybody. So yeah, some of the people know about it. The witches know about it, but nobody else knows about it. They're oblivious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about the story, what else other than what you said, was there anything that you could add about the main character to sort of elaborate who she is, or you think you've already given the feel without spoilers?
I think that she's tough, and she's half healer witch and half destroyer witch. She's not fully destroyer witch, and she's discovering who she is, yet she's scared of who she is too. So.
Okay, so that is who your main character is. What about secondary characters? Do you have any that are especially memorable for you? And if so, could you tell us about them?
I love Migdalia. I loved writing about Migdalia, and she is Victor's mother. She is poised, polished, has lots of jewelry, smells like Coconut Chanel No. 5, and she's trying to protect her son so much that she's actually making choices that are not to his benefit, or to the benefit possibly of the town.
So what made you pick that particular smell? That's a very distinct, unique thing that you picked.
Because it's because it's French and it's expensive.
All right, that's a good reason.
Something that's like high powered and very classic, not like a newer scent.
Okay. All right, Doc. Next one is you. Don't mess it up.
I don't mess anything up, JR. Stop projecting your issues. So, do you have any bad guys in this story that wouldn't be a spoiler to tell us about?
No, I do have Thane, who his face is falling apart pretty much. Like he's like sinewy. He's terrible. He wants to reclaim Bellefleur and is looking for a host body, which is not necessarily good for the young guys in town. So they have to basically, he's looking for a host body. And he also wants Juliet's soul. So Thane is an ancient and evil witch. So once Juliet goes into the swamps with Victor, I don't want to say too much, but she says yes to being a lead witch in her town, Bellefleur. Magic returns to the town. So both good and evil magic return to the town. So this is what he wanted. He makes sure he's kind of like making sure this happens because he wants his magic back, and so he can take over.
So with him looking to take a body, did you at least make one Invasion of the Body Snatchers joke in there? Because that's just right for those references.
Right. No, I don't know. Maybe. You'll have to find out.
It looks like JR's going to have to practice his reading skills.
Well, you never know. She might have an audiobook coming out. Do you have an audiobook coming out?
I'm working on one later this year.
Okay.
See? Then you can just have stories whispered into your ear, which sounds a little creepy now that I think about it.
I mean, I wasn't going to go there, but I was just going to make jokes about kindergarten in school circles. But I mean, sure, creepy works too, I guess, Doc. Are you going to take the Katie Cross route and narrate your own? Or are you going to
I think I will. Actually, I have a Blue Yeti behind me. So I've got a lot of the equipment, so I can just start.
Cool.
That sounds
intimidating. And I don't have the voice for it, but I think you could pull it off. So.
Oh, thank you. I just need to focus.
So I don't know, borrow whatever magic juice Katie Cross uses.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to do what she does.
She's a superhero.
I know, she's not human, I swear. So JR, once again, loves to make me ask questions like this, but that's okay because he's going to eat pineapple on pizza when I see him next. So what is your favorite archetype of a character?
I like the kick butt, strong female lead. That's what makes me happy. So Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, loved her. That's
course.
was, yeah. How
not?
could I not? Yeah. So yeah, when I was writing this character, I wanted her to be vulnerable. I made sure there are moments when I think one of the other young men says, Victor says to Alec, yeah, she doesn't need your help. So I never wanted her to be the damsel in distress. And I just wanted her to be a strong, kick-ass girl, learning though, and being vulnerable. That's what I really wanted to do. And I think I did a good job making it happen.
It's funny that you say that, because when I talk about books, and sometimes they make changes where it feels like they're just checking boxes, we want diversity. So I insert random gender or minority character, and it doesn't feel like it serves the plot, and it just feels cheap. Like I would much rather people write an interesting character to fill than just fill. With Starbuck, she's the example of doing it right, because when they changed him to her and they gave that love angle to the dead son that was always dead in the previous, it made all of the familial interactions that they had in the original series, when they redid that, it was so much more poignant, because you could see, like, who hasn't, cut a little corner for someone they were serious about, and then to have that come up where she cut the corners for him and he ended up dying, like that added so much more to the gravitas to that character. That is how you do it right.
Yeah, I agree. It was well done.
I keep messing with things and hitting buttons. We gave her admin power, and she's just going crazy with the buttons. I think it was too
dancing.
Much for her. Yeah, it was too much for her head. She's let it go to her head. So finally, what can you tell us about the universe where this story happens? In miniseries, the universe, the world where the story takes place, is as much of a character as the protagonist and antagonist. So what can you tell us? Obviously, it's Earth. Obviously, it's modern-ish days, and there is magic, but most people don't know about it. Other than that, it's pretty much contemporary.
It's contemporary. It's set in Belle Fleur, which is a fictional town in South Florida. It's a swamp town, kind of west, like southwest, but western, closer to the Everglades. About 45 minutes from Miami. So it's a quiet town that was kind of known as a city of magic years ago. And now she has a chance to bring magic back to Belle Fleur, and oh boy, does she.
So obviously you made up a fictional town, because then nobody can say, no, that's not where that building is located.
Right.
It's 2 blocks over. But if you're doing that, then you obviously had something that was sort of your inspiration model that you use so you can draw on roadmaps and stuff. I was to say, so what was the inspiration for Belle Fleur?
Miami was the inspiration, and also the Everglades. And just like the quiet pace of a smaller town. I liked the quieter pace. I thought that worked for a lot of the scenes, as opposed to making it in Miami. She will end up in Miami later on in the series, but not yet. Okay. I wanted to have the contrast between her going to the chaos of the studio as a telenovela actress and then going back to Belle Fleur.
Okay. So when you used Belle Fleur, you made this city up. Did you actually sketch out like not floor plans, like road maps, so you kind of knew the layout of the land, or you just wing it when you write?
I kind of have a visual. I'm a visual artist as well. So I have a visual map in my head, and I kind of know what's going on. I did make a couple of extra streets up, but I know where the town is. I know there's Main Street. I know that there's a road that connects to US 1, and that's where Miami is. So I do have a good sense of the town, and I have a layout of the hospital and the neighborhood. There's a scene where she's walking around partially blind, and she has to cross, I think, some train tracks, and she finds like this grove of palm trees, and she just kind of hangs out. Then she goes and finds Fontaine Manor, which is her family's old home. So yeah, I had everything pretty much mapped out in my head, but maybe one day I make a map.
That is cool. There are some pretty amazing programs. CC3, Campaign Cartographer 3 is a good one. As far as mapping, you can do a lot of great things, but you have to be more computer savvy than me to use it. I tried, I failed, but I've seen the finished product, and it's amazing. It's cartographer quality, like industry standard.
Wow.
So, all right. So the Witch of Belle Fleur, the telenovela actress turned witch, is clearly part of a series. We know because you told us so, and it says so on Amazon. There are currently 2 books out in the series, but after that, is their story done? Where do you see this going? What's next for these characters?
Then it's return to Bellefleur. So big magic, big power comes back to Bellefleur, and stakes are high, and Bellefleur is in jeopardy, and so is the world. So Juliet has to amass lots of help, including from some of her enemies that she wrote off earlier in the series.
Ooh, high stakes. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't make anything easy for her, do you?
I don't. Sorry, Juliet.
All right. So I get the feeling if they ever make this as a movie, the actress is going to be reading the script and she's going to look at you like, really? What the F, yo?
I think she's going to like it. I think it's a beautiful story. And I made sure to really focus on the relationships of the characters, because that's what everything's about, really. You know, I love the magic, I love the sci-fi, but it's like when we were talking about Captain Cisco, bring it back to that. It's about that thing that he has and his communication. He's talking to another actor. You know, the actor's just going, oh my gosh, I'm in this scene with Avery Brooks, I'm about to faint. You know, that's happening. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we know that every literary universe has their own internally consistent rules of science, technology, and magic, but this sounds like it's more magic driven. So what can we expect from the magic in this universe?
The magic is divided into healer and destroyer powers, and the magic is strong, and it's sometimes unpredictable. So in Midnight in Bellefleur, things happen where the jewel that's embedded in her hand, without spoiler, sorry, gets taken out in chapter 1. So she's going to have to find and develop and get in touch with her latent powers.
Okay. So if I was better with the editing software, I would have her continue talking. I would put like a little black blurb over her mouth with redacted and like just mute her for a second so it would sound like a cool effect. But I'm not that good at tech, people. So you're going to have to hear me tell you what I might have done if I was good at this stuff.
So it's a very high it's magic, not really tech that you've done. But what magic would you want out of this universe?
There's a scene where Renner, who is her mentor, someone's saying that she didn't do something, and he just takes his hand and makes a ball showing what she just did, like kind of capturing a moment and being able to show something. So that'd be cool, that I wouldn't have to carry a phone anymore, and I could just look at fun things. Also maybe being able to I don't know, take down a wall if you're renovating a house by just putting my hand up and just blasting a wall down. That could be fun. This way you can just renovate easier.
So how would you abuse that in your world?
Abuse it?
Yeah.
The ability to destroy
walls. Yeah. I'd go somewhere that was being demolished, and I would just, they'd have to say Isabelle and we're done. Yeah. They probably have to say we're good.
Okay.
We've got a demo team here. And I'd be like, but it's fun.
You would never wait in line again. Everyone would just sort of make a path and make a hole. We don't want Isabelle to blow us up.
Right.
Now that I think about it, that would be kind of nice. Waiting in line stinks. Doc, make this happen for me. Give me this magical ability.
Waiting in line does stink. That's why I have an allergy to it. No, all right. I don't like you that much. So do you have any magical creatures in your universe, or is it just the witches?
At the end, there's one, but I can't go into it too much, but because it's maybe a spoiler. There's a magical creature that
did you
threatens the town. Sorry.
Did you let folklore influence you, or biology, or science, or just
I did a little bit of folklore
visions? I
just did a little bit of folklore, but a lot of it's just kind of immersing myself in the South Florida feeling, and the swampiness, the humidity.
Yeah.
So you talked about adding the folklore for the fantastical creatures, but you mentioned that you also love sci-fi because you're a Star Trek fan. So if you were writing a sci-fi story, how would you go about, do you think, designing aliens? This is just more, getting into the creative process more than anything. So do you think you would let your dreams inspire you, actual existing creatures? What do you think you would do?
I'd probably use my dreams and some existing creatures, but I would just probably also just play with some of that stuff and see, I don't know, I'd want some tubes and see how it I don't know, I just want to hands-on too. just creatively, just see what happens.
Okay. It's always fun to get inside how people, sort of think. And sometimes they give themselves away with their age. Like the ones that are from a certain era, they're like, oh, I'd get the D&D monster manual and roll a dice and see what comes up. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's one way to do it. Which is a shortcut for saying you're using fantastical folklore creatures, because that's where most of it comes from.
I don't know, but I think I'd have fun with it. I love a lot of the clothing too. So it's amazing. Some of the wardrobe is fabulous.
And the cool thing is when you're writing about it, instead of putting it on a screen, you don't have to get stuck with the forehead ridge of the week like Star Trek did.
I know.
Yeah. You could do all kinds of crazy things, or the odd splotch of like skin color discoloration here or there.
Right.
Doc, you can say it. You don't have to hold it in. What?
Leave Jadzia alone.
I know. We love Jadzia.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying
will
that
not
when you're
survive knocking on Jadzia.
I'm just saying that when you don't have the limitations of
shush and continue on with the show. Quit while you're ahead.
See, I don't know, Doc. I think I'm gonna have to fire you and find a new co-host. What are you doing every Tuesday or Thursday when we record, Isabel? Oh, you got a 4-year-old. Never mind. All right. So clearly this interview is winding down, but before we wrap this up, was there anything about the Witch of Belle Fleur that you wanted to tell us, or about the Destroyer Witch Chronicles before we move on?
Well, I did it in mind to entertain, delight, and to just bring magic into our lives a bit more. So I hope you find it and enjoy it.
That is an excellent answer. Doc approves. She's nodding along, or that could just be the wine finally hitting her. It could go either way. This is the
I agree with her. Those are always the best stories.
Thank you, Doc.
I read to escape, so I like it when they just have fun as the objective.
Yeah,
if you want to slip some life lesson in there, fine. Just don't beat me over the head with it.
I hear you.
I like the escapism. So before we let you go, dear listener, we'd like to harken back to our original podcasting days, and we'll remind you that
Please Be Kind, Rewind. No, it's review books on the reviewing platforms of your choice, and ideally of all of them.
So Please Be Kind and Rewind at Blockbuster was what inspired this, but Please Be Kind and Speak Your Mind on the reviewing platforms. It helps the right readers find the right books. And if you go to wherever you buy the book, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, any of the places, leave a review there. If you can't leave a review there because you read it at the library, start a blog and review it there, and then review everything else, because when an author gets their 100th book review, their 100th 5-star review, they get a unicorn. And you don't want to deprive her of a unicorn. She's got a 4-year-old that wants to ride a pony.
I know. Yeah. Unicorns are awesome. Thank you so much, JR. And Doc.
I just want to know how they taste. Like, would you I'm gonna get all the hate mail.
Okay.
Send the hate mail to Doc.
Anyway. Shh. Let's see. Wait. Can I do this? Oh, wonderful. So, can you tell our listeners where to find you when JR figures out how to unmute his microphone?
You can find me at isabellehardesty.com. Isabelle, E-L-L-E, French spelling, and Hardesty, Hardesty.com.
Yay!
I never should have given her the admin power. She's fired, people. Fired, I say. And I'm going to dock your pay. You know what? You get half pay this week. So it's true, Doc. Half of zero. You're gonna lose a lot. So
That's fine. My wife will pay me in booze.
That's always good. So you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/SF_fantasy_show. Twitter.com/SF_fantasy_show. You can email the show at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, that is blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Cisca is dancing in the background, so you get the attention and read it on the screen. You can join us where the shenanigans happen on Facebook at the Blasters and Blades Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Blasters and Blades podcast. Don't blame me, people. This is my 5th cup of coffee. Blasters and Blades Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Blasters and Blades podcast. You can follow. Stop dancing, Doc. On our website at anchor.fm/Blasters blasters and blades. Again, anchor.fm/blasters and blades, where you could support us for as little as 99 cents a month and help keep the lights on. Or you can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts Doc Cisca and Nick Garber duly intoxicated. They will drink until their liver surrenders.
Never surrender.
And before we let Doc bring us home, we have to ask you the most important question. How do you feel about pineapple on pizza?
Oh, it's pretty cool, I guess, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've had it before.
No wonder you brought her on, Doc.
I brought her on because she's amazing.
Thank you. Right. You're amazing,
I guess we can end the show since heresy.
So thank you for spending some of our precious time. Don't make me mute you again, JR.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, JR. You guys are both amazing. Thanks for having me so much. It's been so fabulous.
And to our listeners, thank you for spending time. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place, something like that. I don't know if we have a same place on the internet. But enjoy. We'll indulge our love of cheesy culture, nerd, cheesy, geeky, whatever culture, and torturing JR, of course. Because as JR learned tonight, pineapple does go on pizza.